In the United States, the average life expectancy is 77.5 years. The average health span is 66. That is an 11-year gap where you are alive but not living. Your body does not collapse one morning. It sends signals years before anything shows up on a blood test. Quiet ones, internal ones, the kind you feel but never measure. Today, 5 of them. Not grip strength, not balance, not walking speed. We covered those. These are deeper. These come from your immune system, your metabolism, your blood vessels, your circadian rhythm, and from something Harvard only recently proved matters. If 3 or more are working in your favor, the research says your odds change dramatically. If you find this kind of content valuable, a like and a subscribe go a long way. Let's begin. Signal number 5. Gratitude. A 74-year-old woman in Massachusetts lost her husband in the spring. By autumn, she described her days as gray noise. Cooked, cleaned, read. Told her daughter she was fine. She was not fine. Blood pressure had crept up. She stopped sleeping through the night. Her appetite shrank. When her granddaughter called, she answered but had nothing to say. Her therapist suggested something she called ridiculous. Write down 3 things you are grateful for every morning before coffee. She almost did not do it. In 2024, Harvard published what became the first large-scale study directly linking gratitude to how long you live. The Nurses' Health Study. 49,275 older women, average age 79, followed for 3 years. Those in the top third for grateful affect had a 9% lower risk of dying from any cause. For cardiovascular death, the reduction was 15%. The researchers controlled for physical health, lifestyle, cognitive function, depression, optimism, religious attendance, social participation. After stripping away every known factor, gratitude still predicted survival. Robert Emmons at UC Davis found that people who practiced gratitude had 23% lower cortisol. In patients with congestive heart failure, it reduced inflammatory biomarkers by 7%. The mechanism is not mystical. When the brain registers something positive and attributes it to an outside source, a gift, a moment of luck, warmth from sunlight, the prefrontal cortex quiets the amygdala. Cortisol drops, inflammation drops, sleep improves, the immune system gets room to work. The woman in Massachusetts wrote, "The birds came back to the feeder. My daughter called without me asking. The bread I baked rose properly. She did not become happy. She became quieter inside. Her blood pressure came down. She slept through the night for the first time in months." This is signal 5. Not joy, not optimism. The slow calming of emotional waves. If your days feel flat, if nothing lifts, that is not aging. That is a signal, and it responds to a pen and 3 sentences. Signal number 4, stride length. In our last episode, we talked about walking speed, 10 meters in 12 seconds. That test measures urgency, how quickly you get from here to there. This is different. This is how far your foot reaches when you are not trying to go fast. The length of a single step. A 2021 meta-analysis combined 11 cohort studies. 14,167 older adults, mean age 75, followed for nearly 3 years. People whose stride measured 0.64 meters or shorter had a 69% higher risk of death, 26% higher risk of physical disability, 36% higher risk of major adverse health events. Stride length predicted these outcomes more accurately than stride speed, stride width, or step width. None of those reached statistical significance, only length. Why does the length of your step matter more than the speed? Because stride length is a composite signal. It reflects hip joint mobility, core stability, the nervous system's ability to coordinate multiple muscle groups, and the raw power of the legs to push off. When stride shortens, the body is compensating. The hip has stiffened, the core has weakened, the brain's motor planning has slowed. You do not notice because it happens 1 centimeter at a time over years. A woman once described her 99-year-old mother. She still walks to the mailbox every morning. She does not rush, but her steps are full, like she means every one of them. She means every one of them. That is exactly what this signal measures. Home test. Find a hallway. Walk 10 steps at your natural pace. Measure the total distance from starting heel to ending heel. Divide by 10. Below 0.64 meters, pay attention. Between 0.64 and 0.85, solid. Above 0.85, your legs are telling you something good. One study found that interval walking, alternating 3 minutes slow with 3 minutes slightly faster and longer stride, improved stride length in adults over 70 within 8 weeks. The fix is not speed. The fix is reach. Signal number 3. Peripheral temperature recovery. Someone in a community for adults over 50 asked a question that got thousands of replies. Is anyone else suddenly cold all the time? Most of the answers were about socks and blankets. One was different. A retired cardiologist wrote, "Cold hands and feet are not about comfort. They are a report card from your blood vessels. When your fingers get cold and then warm up quickly, that means the peripheral blood vessels can still constrict to conserve heat and then dilate to restore flow. Vasoconstriction followed by vasodilation. That cycle is a direct measure of vascular health. When it slows down, when your hands stay cold for 30 minutes after coming inside, when your feet never warm up under the blanket, the vessels have lost elasticity. A 2018 study in Nature Scientific Reports built a biological aging predictor using wrist skin temperature, activity level, and body position. The model predicted biological age group with 95.3% accuracy. One of the strongest variables was distal skin temperature rhythm. Older adults whose temperature patterns had flattened, whose hands stayed warm during the day when they should have been cool and failed to warm at night when they should have, were biologically older than their calendar age. The thermoregulatory system is not separate from aging. It is a mirror of it. Think about it in your kitchen. You wash dishes in warm water, dry your hands. 5 minutes later, are your fingertips still cold? Or have they returned to warmth? Quick return means your vascular system is intact. Lingering cold means it is worth paying attention to. The fix is circulation, movement, opening and closing the fists, rotating the wrists, walking, which pushes blood to the extremities, and cutting prolonged sitting, which pools blood in the core and starves the periphery. You cannot feel your arteries stiffening, but you can feel your hands. Signal number 2. Metabolic efficiency. There is a myth in longevity science that will not die. Eat less, live longer. Calorie restriction. The animal data supports it. Mice on restricted diets live longer, but people are not mice. A researcher who spent decades studying 2,400 people who lived past 100 found that none of them had starved themselves. They ate regular meals. They ate enough. What they did not do was eat too much. The distinction is critical. Calorie restriction in the elderly weakens the immune system. Undereating leads to sarcopenia, the loss of muscle that makes falls deadly. It reduces bone density. It impairs the wound healing we just talked about. What the centenarians demonstrated was not restriction. It was efficiency. Their bodies extracted maximum energy from moderate intake. They woke alert. They moved all day without crashing. They did not need the third meal to be as large as the first. The calorie trial at Columbia University confirmed that a 15% calorie reduction slowed biological aging in healthy adults. But the key word is healthy. In older adults with existing muscle loss, further restriction accelerates the problem. It is like patching a leaking boat by drilling more holes. An 82-year-old man in a senior forum described his mornings. 2 eggs, 1 piece of toast, a glass of water. 15 years, same breakfast. He walks 4 miles a day on it. His neighbor eats twice as much and naps by noon. The signal is not how much you eat. It is how much your body can do with what you give it. Home test. Eat your usual breakfast tomorrow. At noon, ask yourself one question. Could I walk 20 minutes right now without sitting down? If yes, your engine is clean. If no, the fuel might need updating, not increasing. Signal number 1, wound healing. This is the one nobody measures but everybody notices. A man about to turn 53 wrote this in a health forum. 20 years ago, I fell exactly like this. Same chair, same hip, same elbow. Next day, I was fine. Now, weeks. The replies were a mirror. A 58-year-old said he jammed his finger playing basketball with his son last summer. 6 months later, he still felt it sometimes. A 65-year-old said paper cuts that disappeared overnight now take a week. Someone wrote, "What healed in 3 days in my 30s takes 6 weeks in my 60s." But the rate of decline is not the same for everyone, and the difference is not random. A study in biogerontology found that the ability to maintain wound healing speed into old age was directly associated with a longevity phenotype. People whose cuts, bruises, and scrapes healed at a consistent pace in their 70s and 80s were biologically younger than people of the same calendar age whose healing had slowed. Rockefeller University discovered why. As we age, the communication between skin cells and immune cells breaks down. The inflammatory phase of healing, which should be brief and targeted, becomes prolonged and diffuse. The repair crew arrives but cannot find the site, or stays too long, or does not know when to leave. Ohio State found that regular exercise reversed this. Older adults who exercised regularly healed wounds 25% faster than sedentary adults of the same age. The exercise did not make them younger. It restored the communication. This is not a test you perform in a hallway. It is an observation. Next time you get a paper cut, a kitchen nick, a bruise from bumping the table, watch it. How long does the redness last? How many days until the skin closes? How quickly does the bruise fade from purple to yellow to gone? If you heal the way you healed 5 years ago, your immune system is holding. If every small injury lingers, that is signal 1. A 78-year-old carpenter in a woodworking forum said he nicks his fingers almost every week. 3 days, gone. In his own words, "I never stopped working with my hands." He did not say exercise, he said work. One is scheduled, the other is built into the architecture of a life that still requires you. 5 signals. Gratitude quieting the emotional waves, stride length reaching forward, hands warming up, the body running clean on less fuel, and wounds that still close on time. None of these require a doctor's visit. None of them cost anything. None of them are fixed by a pill. But here is what binds them together. A researcher who studied centenarians for decades arrived at an idea that does not translate perfectly into English, but the meaning is this: age with the current, not against it. Most of the longevity industry sells you the upstream swim, reverse aging, fight the clock, buy this supplement, take this hormone, freeze yourself in a chamber. The centenarians did none of that. They walked to the market because there was no car. They ate vegetables because that is what grew. They talked to their neighbors because the television had not replaced them yet. They did not exercise. They lived in a way that required movement. When their bodies changed, they adjusted. Smaller plates when the appetite shrank, shorter walks when the knees protested, earlier bedtimes when the rhythm shifted. There is a biological principle behind this: hormesis. Small, repeated stressors make the body more resilient. A short walk in cold air tightens and then relaxes blood vessels, training them. A 12-hour fast between dinner and breakfast lets the metabolic system reset. A brief mental challenge, a crossword, a new recipe, a conversation you have not had before keeps neural pathways alive. The centenarians lived this without knowing the word. They had 3 rules. Do something with your hands every day. Give something to someone every week. Learn something new every month. Do, give, learn. Tomorrow morning before coffee, write down 3 things. Not big things. The way the light hit the window. A phone call you did not expect. The fact that your legs carried you to the kitchen without thinking. Walk, not fast. Feel your stride reach. Notice if your hands are warm or cold. Eat a moderate breakfast and check in at noon. And the next time you get a cut, watch it heal. Cheer it on. You are not testing yourself. You are reading a letter your body has already written. I want to leave you with something I read recently. Atul Gawande is a surgeon who spent years with patients at the end of their lives. In his book Being Mortal, he writes about what medicine gets wrong. We think the job is to ensure health and survival. But the real job, the harder one, is to enable well-being, to make it possible for someone to keep living in a way that still matters to them. He writes, "You may not control life circumstances, but getting your mind, your daily practice right is the place to start." And then he says something that belongs here. Courage is the strength to recognize that life is not about just living. It is about living well. Your body's signals are not threats. They are not warnings to be afraid of. They are the body saying, I am still here. I am still trying. Help me. The 5 signals are your body asking for a partner, not a doctor. Do one thing today. Write 3 lines. Walk with longer steps. Squeeze your hands while the coffee brews. Eat a smaller dinner. Watch your neck scratch heal. The body writes you a letter every day. Most people never open it. Thank you for your time. If this meant something to you, please take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe if you have not, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment and tell me which of the 5 signals surprised you most.